Hi, my name is Sarah and my channel is Knotty Gnome Crafts. Welcome. If you are a new or returning viewer, thanks so much for joining me today. This video is going to be another edition of Friday Sews. Before we get started, I just want to share that I am wearing my Mary Annarella Swift River cardigan that is knit out of Madelinetosh Sport. It's one of my favorite sweaters and I wear it all the time. And then underneath I am wearing my Meet You There top that I hacked from the dress pattern from Pattern Emporium, and I used a cotton double gauze that I got from Style Maker Fabrics. So in today's video, I have a few finished projects to share with you, and then I'm going to share some works in progress. I've decided that this is the last time I'm going to bring this up because I'm a little bit tired of mentioning it, but just in case you're new, right now my husband is renovating our kitchen, and so because of that, the house is kind of a mess and I have not been able to sew as much. And so since I do not have as much sewing content as I normally would, in my Friday Sews videos from here on out, I'm just going to include my yarny projects that I'm working on as part of it, just so that I have a little bit more content to talk to you about, because otherwise I would just show you like one thing and we'd be done. Okay, so let's just get started with the 3 projects that I managed to finish this past week, and that was my 3 t-shirts using the pattern from Pattern Emporium, the Keep It Simple Babe tee. Now before I show them to you, I know I've mentioned in my past few videos that the Keep It Simple Babe tee is my favorite t-shirt pattern, but I don't think that it's been a little while since I've explained why it's my favorite t-shirt pattern, so I did just want to go ahead and talk about that for a second. So the Pattern Emporium Keep It Simple Babe tee is described as a semi-fitted tee, and I think that is a really good description because it's pretty fitted through the shoulders and the chest, but then it's quite loose in the waist, and then it just skims over your hips. So I really like that style because it is fitted enough that you can layer over it pretty easily. If I wanted to wear a cardigan or even like a pullover sweater over top, it wouldn't be too bulky underneath. But it's also just pretty comfortable because it's fairly loose around the waist and not super tight at the hips. When you compare it to something like the True Bias Nico or the Jennifer Lauren Handmade Gable, both of which I've made recently, those are much, much more fitted throughout the entire body. And although I do think that tops like that have their place in my wardrobe, I'm not saying that they're bad. Just for my own comfort level and my personal style, I like this shirt better because it's just more comfortable and it's just more my style. It's a little bit more relaxed. So that is why I'm such a fan of the t-shirt pattern. The only thing that I don't love about it is the name, because I just find it very long and hard to say. But yeah, the Keep It Simple Babe tee is my favorite t-shirt pattern. I think at this point I've made it like 11 times, and I don't think that I'm gonna stop. There are still so many different variations in the pattern that I haven't even done yet. That's the other thing that I love about the pattern, is that there are so many variations with necklines and sleeves. You can basically make any sort of t-shirt that you want as long as you like that semi-fitted style. So the 3 t-shirts that I finished this week are long sleeve t-shirts. 2 of them have the crew neck option and 1 has the turtleneck. For all 3 of these t-shirts, I made the size 8 and I cut it off to the short body length. I think there's both a short length and a long length. The long length is if you prefer it more tunic style. So I did the short length. And there is an option to have a cuff on the sleeve. I did not do the cuff for any of them. I did the regular long sleeve. And yeah, I'll just show you what I have made. So these first 2 are the crew neck versions. This one, these are the same type of fabric. This was chocolate brown and a vanilla color. I got both of these at Style Maker Fabrics, and they are both a cotton modal spandex blend. So it's kind of maybe on the lighter side of medium. It's not a super thin t-shirt or anything, but it's not a super hefty jersey. And but it's also not sheer or anything. It has a nice drape, but it also has a little bit of structure. It's sort of like the best of both worlds with the modal and the cotton. I really, really like this fabric, and it is relatively expensive. I want to say that I bought it on sale at Style Maker over Black Friday, and I still ended up paying over $18 a yard for the fabric, so it's pretty expensive for a t-shirt fabric. However, I do think that it will be really long lasting in my wardrobe, so I do really like this fabric and I would buy it again. Now, even though these t-shirts are like cut identically. I sewed the brown one first, and so I did make a mistake with the brown one that I corrected with the white one. And that is that the pattern for the crew neck has notches for the front so that you can make sure that your neckband is like properly stretched to fit the neckline. But I am used to having the notches match up with the shoulder seams, which was not correct. And when I constructed these garments, I didn't look at the instructions because I've made it before, and I sometimes, maybe quite often, don't look at instructions anyway for it. Like, it's certainly for things like t-shirts. So I didn't look at the instructions, that was my bad. But like on this brown version, I matched up the notches with the shoulder seams, which is not what you're supposed to do. There's actually notches on the front piece that you're supposed to use. So because of that, it's actually a little bit exaggerated on the hanger, but my neckband isn't completely flat. It's a little bit stretched too tightly on the front here because I did it wrong. For the second one, I paid more attention to what I was supposed to do, and I did it the right way. And so you can see that this neckband is perfectly smooth and flat. And so yeah, again, it was a mistake that I made. It was definitely not the fault of the pattern. I did cover stitch both of these necklines down, and when this is on, I don't think it looks that bad, but it's not quite as perfect as this one. The only other notes that I had for this version, or actually all the versions of the t-shirt, is that I shortened the sleeves by 3 inches, which is a very common alteration that I have to do because I have very short arms. However, in all of these t-shirts, I would say that the 3 inches was maybe a little too much. I might have been better off with 2. However, I decided to just go with it because I think I've mentioned this before. I don't like when sleeves are too long and they kind of get in the way of my watch. And so I kind of don't mind bracelet length. Like, I do think maybe it looks a little awkward because it looks a little bit short. On the other hand, I like it that it doesn't get in the way of my watch. So I'm okay with it being slightly short, but I think in a perfect world, I probably would have only shortened the sleeves 2 inches instead of 3. So in lieu of styling these for you, for this video, I just wanted to put the garments on and like kind of show you what it looks like untucked, so you can get a feel for how it looks like on and what the fabric is like, and then I'll do my styling when I do my January makes video. So that was the first 2 that I finished. And then the third version that I made is from a cotton spandex jersey that I got from Knit Pop in this gorgeous leopard print. I love this print, it's just so beautiful. Now this is quite a beefy jersey. When I looked it up, it's actually was it a 9 ounce or a 12 ounce? I can't remember what the description was, but it's a pretty heavy jersey. It's definitely heavier than these 2. And it also, because it's a cotton, it doesn't have any rayon or bamboo or modal type of content. It's pretty sturdy and like it's very substantial, so it holds its shape. And so I didn't have any problems with sewing this. It was very easy to construct. I didn't have any issues with putting in the turtleneck, but because this fabric wants to stand up so much, I think the turtleneck is a little bit longer than I would prefer. Now, I have made the turtleneck of this t-shirt pattern once before, but I made it, the first time I made it, I used a rayon jersey, which is a lot drapier than this. And so on that one, the collar kind of wants to naturally fall down. And so I didn't have any problems with that one. But on this one, because the collar wants to stand up, it does, I have a really short neck, so it feels like it's just a little bit too tall. I wish that it was probably like 1.5 inches shorter. It would be more comfortable for me. And actually, this pattern piece is already shortened by 1 inch because I did that the first time I made it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be too wide. And so I shortened it by 1 inch. And that time it was fine because I made it out of the rayon, but out of this cotton, I really think I should have lowered the neckline another 1.5 inches. So I'll just have to remember that for the future. If I use like a stiffer fabric again for the turtleneck, I need to make it shorter because that is the one thing about this top that bugs me a little bit. But other than that, I do think that it's fabulous. I love this print. It's so fun. And I also just think that it will complement so many things in my wardrobe. I can't wait to wear this with a pinafore dress. And yeah, there's just so many different ways that I can think of to wear this, that even though it's a print and it's kind of a bold print, it's still pretty neutral, so I feel like it's going to go with so many things. So yeah, those were the things that I finished sewing this week. Moving on to my works in progress. Now I will be inserting pictures of what this garment is supposed to look like, because when I hold this up and show it to you, it's not going to look like much of anything. So I'll actually just do that right now, and maybe you can like play a little guessing game and figure out what this is. So this is what I am working on right now. And it is the Liz Bralette by Sew Your Happy Patterns. Now I believe that this pattern is no longer free. I think when it was first released, it was free for a limited time, and so I downloaded it at that time. I'm pretty sure that it's not free anymore, but I will put the link to the pattern in the description box, and maybe I'm wrong about that, I'm not really sure. But at the time I downloaded it, it was free. So I had mentioned, it was on my Make 9 list, that I really wanted to make some sports bras. Now I know that this pattern says that it is a bralette, but just keeping it real here, I don't have a whole lot going on up top, and so I don't really need the kind of support that many people do need. Like I probably don't really need like power mesh and all that stuff that's supposed to like really hold you in and offer support. Like I just need a little bit of support, and so I think that this pattern, even though it is classified as a bralette, I think that it will work for me as a sports bra. Your mileage may vary on that. But yeah, it's just a very simple design. There's two different views. For this first version, I am making the plain version. There's one that has like kind of a like a crossover side, and I do want to try that version if this one works out. Before the beginning, for my first sports bra, I just wanted to make it as simple as possible, so I'm doing the one with the plain like side seams. And for fabric, I am using some scraps that were in my stash of activewear knit. So I had made, actually I've made leggings, and I've also made bike shorts out of this. This was a performance knit that I got from Joanne, and then this was a performance knit that I got from Style Maker, and I've also made leggings and bike shorts out of this one. And because I'm literally like cutting out scraps, I had to add a center back seam to the lining because I didn't have enough fabric. But that worked out fine. It's going to be on the inside, and you know, I just wanted to use my scraps. So the reason that it looks super funky like this is because you assemble it using the burrito method. And so I have sewn up one side of, or I've basted one side of the armhole, and the next step is to add clear elastic to the armhole, and then you would turn it out right side out and then do the other armhole. And I was happily sewing along on this yesterday, and then I ran out of clear elastic. So I had to order some more from Wawak, and it's on its way. So until that gets here, I'm kind of at a weird point, so that's why this looks so strange. But yeah, I'm really excited to be making my own sports bra, and I'm hopeful that it's going to work out. And if it does, I think I might go ahead and sew up the other view with the crossover side, just so that I have a couple of sports bras. And then after that, I do have some other sports bra patterns that I could try later on, but I think for now, if I can get 2 functional sports bras, I'll be happy for now, and I could cross that off my Make 9 list, so that would be amazing. So moving on to my yarn projects, I decided that I'm only going to show you my spinning project and my blanket project probably once a month, because there's just no point in me holding it up and being like, look, it looks pretty much exactly the same as it did the last time I showed it to you, so I'm just going to hold off on those. But I do have my husband's lined mittens that I've been working on. I've made some progress on them. So the last time I showed it to you, I think I was almost done with mitten number 1 out of 4. So I did finish the first one. And because this is self-striping yarn, you know, when you get to the thumb, it's a smaller circumference, so the stripes get wider. So it looks a little bit funky, but the alternative, if I wanted the stripes to like be consistent, is you would have to like cut the yarn and then wind up to the next color, and then, you know, like make like normal stripes. And so I'm way too lazy for that. So my husband just has a funky looking thumb, and he's just gonna have to deal with it. He won't care. But yeah, so I finished the first mitten, 25% done. And then I am almost done with the second mitten. I just have the thumb left to do. And I tried to make these match, but I was not quite successful because they don't end on the same color. But when you stick them right next to each other, they do look pretty similar. So I don't know where I went wrong, but like, whatever, it's close enough. Again, my husband's not gonna care. So it's kind of funny that I'm basically at the point where I was the last time I showed it to you, but this is just the second mitten. So when I finish number 2, I'll be 50% done, and then I still have to pick out a yarn for the lining. So what I decided to do for this is, as I had mentioned in my previous video, the fabric is, because I'm using size 2 needles for the body of the mitten, it's a little bit thin and looser than I really want it to be. I mean, I am gonna line them, but I want it to be like windproof. So I'm still gonna use a fingering weight yarn for the lining so that it's a little bit thicker, but I am gonna go ahead and size down 1 needle size. So I'll size down to a 1.5 needle for the lining, just so it's a little bit tighter and it'll be more windproof. So like I said, I have not chosen yarn for the interior lining mitten yet, but I'm almost done with this, so then I'm pretty much gonna have to pick something. And they won't really be reversible because I'm sizing down the interior lining mitten is gonna be smaller than the exterior mitten. And so if you flipped it inside out and this part was on the inside, it would be a little bit bulky. So it's not really gonna be reversible, but I still might choose something fun for the inside just because why not? But yeah, that's my progress on my husband's lined mitten project. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm using the Knitter's Handy Book of Patterns by Ann Budd as a guide. It's sort of my go-to, like, standard mitten pattern that I use almost all the time. And yeah, the needles that I'm using are Knitter's Pride Wood Cirques, as I said, on size 2. So that is everything that I had to share with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've made it to the end, I do appreciate that you take time out of your day to watch my videos. If you liked it, I hope you will hit the like button, and please consider subscribing to my channel as it helps more people find my videos. I'll see you again next time.